Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today
Are we back on?
into supplier diversity,
Okay.
specifically how to build a really strong business case for engaging with Indigenous businesses here in Australia.
Cool.
And our kind of guiding light for this journey is going to be this awesome guide called Supplier Diversity. How? It's like a playbook filled with insights for organizations that are ready to make like a real impact.
Nice.
You know, it really makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever stopped and thought about where all the products and services that you use every day actually come from?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like literally everything from your morning coffee to the software you use to run your business?
Right.
Turns out there are some pretty compelling reasons to think about who's behind all that?
Yeah, for sure. I think this guy does a really great job of challenging that misconception that supplier diversity is just a nice to have or like a box ticking exercise.
Right.
It really lays out a powerful argument for why it's actually like a smart business move.
Oh, interesting.
And they start with what they call the 3 Cs.
3 Cs.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
Competitive advantage,
Oh.
corporate social responsibility,
Okay.
and compliance.
3 Cs.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're about to unlock some kind of secret business code.
I think it's less like a code and more like 3 pillars
Okay.
that kind of work together.
Gotcha.
So first up, you've got competitive advantage.
Okay.
So imagine sourcing unique bush foods from an Indigenous-owned enterprise.
Okay. Yeah.
Not only are you offering something distinctive to your customers,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also tapping into this growing consumer demand for authentic and sustainable ingredients.
Right.
That's like a competitive edge you can't just manufacture.
Yeah, that's a tangible difference.
Yeah.
You're not just sourcing ingredients, you're telling a story, you're creating an experience.
Exactly. And that uniqueness goes beyond just tangible products.
Right.
Indigenous businesses often bring these specialized skills and traditional knowledge
Oh, yeah.
and like a deep understanding of specific markets.
Uh-huh.
So that can give your business a real advantage, particularly when it comes to things like innovation and reaching new customers.
So we're not just talking about doing good here, we're
Yeah.
talking about doing well at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the second, corporate social responsibility.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting because it ties into this broader context of reconciliation with Indigenous Australians.
Mm.
You know, a lot of organizations here use reconciliation action plans.
RAPs.
Yeah, RAPs as frameworks for guiding their efforts.
Okay, so for those of us who might not be super familiar with RAPs, could you break that down a bit?
Yeah, so RAP is basically a tailored plan
Okay.
that outlines how an organization is going to contribute to reconciliation with Indigenous Australians.
Gotcha.
It goes beyond just words.
Right.
It's about tangible actions and commitments.
Okay.
Supporting Indigenous businesses is often a core part of these plans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, creating economic opportunities within communities and promoting self-determination.
So it's not just about writing a check.
Right.
It's about really embedding that commitment to reconciliation into how your business actually operates.
Exactly. It's about building these genuine long-term relationships
Yeah,
based on respect and mutual benefit.
makes sense.
Which leads us to the third C, compliance.
Okay.
Now, this one might sound a little less exciting than the first two.
Haha. You know what they say? Sometimes the less glamorous stuff is the most important.
Very true.
So let's talk compliance.
All right, so in Australia, we have the Indigenous Procurement Policy, the IPP.
Mm.
And it's this powerful tool that requires government contracts over $7.5 million
Wow.
to include plans for engaging Indigenous businesses.
Oh, wow.
It's really designed to create a more level playing field
Mm-hmm.
and ensure that Indigenous businesses have a fair shot at winning those contracts.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant policy.
It is.
Sounds like they could really shift the landscape.
Yeah, and the guy does mention that some organizations only focus on compliance as a way to tick boxes.
Right.
They highlight the danger of just chasing quotas
Yeah.
or trying to look good on paper without any real commitment.
Right.
True supplier diversity goes beyond just meeting the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
It's about fostering meaningful partnerships,
Right.
understanding the unique value that Indigenous businesses bring to the table.
Totally.
It's about moving beyond transactions and building trust.
So it sounds like a pretty fundamental mindset shift is needed.
Definitely.
So how can an organization move beyond that checkbox mentality
Yeah.
and actually create a supplier diversity program that's truly authentic and impactful?
That's the right question. And I think that's where building a solid business case comes in.
Okay, so that's what we're going to dive into next.
Exactly.
How to actually build a business case for supplier diversity.
Yep.
that resonates with leadership and sets the stage for real change.
Sounds good.
All right, so we've talked about the why.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's get into the how.
Oh,
This guide actually offers a pretty practical roadmap for building a business case.
yeah, it does.
Like literally something any organization could use.
Mm,
And it all starts with like a series of key questions,
Okay.
kind of like stepping stones.
yeah.
And the first one might seem simple, but it's actually super important.
Right.
Do you actually know and have a relationship with the local Indigenous community
Oh, interesting.
where your office is located?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Like, it really highlights the importance of thinking locally,
Mm-hmm.
even as we're considering these like broader national initiatives.
Absolutely. Building those relationships with local communities should be like at the heart of any supplier diversity program.
Right.
From there, the guide kind of encourages you to turn inward and ask,
Okay.
do we currently purchase from any Indigenous businesses?
Oh, okay.
And if so, is there a system in place to track that spending?
Yeah. So it's not just about spending money.
Right.
It's about being intentional about it
Exactly.
and measuring the impact.
Totally. And the guide gives some helpful tips on that front. It actually mentions Supply Nation's Indigenous Business Directory,
Oh, yeah.
which is a fantastic resource for finding potential suppliers.
Okay, cool.
It's like this curated network of amazing businesses just waiting to be discovered.
Oh, that's awesome.
So once you have a sense of your baseline,
Okay.
the guide suggests aligning your supplier diversity efforts with your existing RAPs.
Oh, okay.
So this is where you connect the dots between your broader reconciliation goals and your specific procurement practices.
Yeah.
Think about like your targets and how you're tracking against them.
So weaving supplier diversity into the very fabric of your organization's commitment to reconciliation.
Exactly.
Not just treating it as this like separate thing.
It's about integration and alignment.
Right.
And remember that Indigenous procurement policy we talked about?
The IPP.
The ITP. This is where it comes into play.
Okay.
The guide prompts organizations to consider whether they bid for government contracts
Okay.
over that $7.5 million threshold.
Mhm.
If so, understanding the IPP becomes super important.
Gotcha.
So you've got your baseline,
Right.
you're aligning with your REP,
Yeah.
you're checking for IPP relevance.
What's next?
The guide then asks perhaps the most critical question of all.
Oh, okay.
Does supplier diversity align with your organization's strategic objectives?
Interesting.
This goes beyond just compliance or even corporate social responsibility.
Okay.
It's about asking whether supplier diversity actually supports your core mission and goals as an organization.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot where doing good and doing well really intersect.
Absolutely. And to help organizations navigate all of this, the guide recommends holding a strategic facilitation session.
Oh, strategic facilitation session.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm picturing a room full of people brainstorming and like coming up with innovative ideas.
You're not far off. It emphasizes bringing together all the key stakeholders.
Okay.
So your senior leaders, your executives, even board members, for this focused conversation about supplier diversity.
Gotcha.
And they stress the importance of having a really well-prepared discussion paper
Okay.
based on all those baseline questions we just talked about.
So it's not just like a casual chat, it's
Right.
structured.
It's a structured conversation.
Yeah, with a clear purpose.
Exactly.
And I imagine the whiteboards come in handy here.
Oh, absolutely. The guide actually describes this whole whiteboard mapping process as a way to make those complex decisions more tangible.
Right.
It's about visually representing like your current state, your desired future state,
Yeah.
and all the steps needed to bridge the gap.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's a powerful tool for collaboration.
Okay, so you've got your business case.
Mm-hmm.
You've mapped out your strategy.
Yep.
What's the next critical ingredient?
Well, that's where leadership comes in.
Okay.
The guide highlights the need for a capable executive sponsor.
Capable being the operative word here, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This isn't just a figurehead role. Right? They're very clear that this person needs real influence, authority,
Yeah.
and the ability to secure funding.
Right.
They're like the champion for supplier diversity within the organization,
Okay.
advocating for it at the highest levels.
So it's about having someone who's not just talking the talk,
Right.
but actually walking the walk.
Exactly. And this brings us to a really fascinating anecdote from the guide
Oh, okay.
about Supply Nation. You know,
Yep.
that incredible resource we talked about.
Yeah.
They used to have this policy
Okay.
requiring the CEO or managing director to personally sign off.
Oh, wow.
on membership applications.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a bold move.
it was a deliberate strategy.
Okay, why did they do that?
They knew that achieving real cultural change within organizations required that commitment from the top.
Right,
It couldn't just be delegated to middle management.
right.
It needed the full weight of leadership behind it.
I can see how that sends a very strong message.
It does.
Actions speak louder than words, and having that top-level buy-in really sets the tone for everyone else.
It really reinforces that supplier diversity is not just some side project.
Yeah.
It's a core business strategy.
Right.
And speaking of real-world examples,
Yes.
the guide features a case study about an organization called ACE Childhood Australia.
Isika.
ACECA. Yeah, they're a not-for-profit.
Correct.
They provide professional development and support
Okay.
to early childhood education providers all across Australia.
Cool.
And they had this genuine commitment to Aboriginal engagement.
Okay.
But they were really struggling to move beyond those ad hoc efforts
Right.
and develop a more strategic approach.
So they had the heart,
They had the heart.
but they needed a roadmap
They needed the roadmap.
to translate that passion into action.
Exactly what happened next.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, they decided to seek some guidance from Indigenous Professional Services, or IPS.
Okay.
And IPS helped facilitate a strategic session
Oh, okay.
with ACECA's board and leadership team.
So once again, that strategic facilitation session proves to be really valuable.
Yeah, it's powerful.
I love how this guide emphasizes those practical steps
Yeah.
that organizations can actually take.
It's all about turning those good intentions into concrete action.
Right.
And for ACEA, the outcome of that session was this robust business case
Okay.
that helped to align the board and executive team around a shared vision.
That's fantastic.
It shows that even smaller organizations with limited resources can make significant progress
Yeah.
with the right guidance and framework.
Absolutely. But did their business case actually lead to any changes within ACU?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
It did. The business case gave him a clear roadmap
Mm.
and the buy-in from leadership
Yeah.
to move forward. But that's a story for part 3.
So we left off with ACIA developing this really solid business case for Aboriginal engagement.
Right.
What happened next?
Well, they actually implemented it.
They did.
Yeah, and with like remarkable success.
Oh, wow.
The business case really paved the way for a big shift in how they approached procurement.
Okay.
ACECA Mau really started actively seeking out and engaging Indigenous-owned businesses.
For a whole range of services, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for like a whole range of services.
Do you give us some examples?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So they brought in Indigenous businesses for graphic design,
Okay.
website development,
Uh-huh.
even like cultural awareness training for their staff.
Oh, wow.
So this wasn't just about ticking boxes.
Right.
It was about really embedding those Indigenous perspectives and expertise into everything they did.
It sounds like they really embraced the spirit of supplier diversity.
They did.
But I imagine there must have been some challenges along the way, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like working with any new suppliers always comes with some level of adjustment.
Yeah, the guide highlights the importance of clear communication
Okay.
and a willingness to adapt to different ways of working.
Yeah.
You know, Indigenous businesses might have different cultural protocols or decision-making processes.
Makes sense.
It's a good reminder that supplier diversity isn't just about finding diverse suppliers.
Yeah.
It's about building those relationships
Yeah,
and really understanding each other's needs.
absolutely. So where did ACECA excel in that?
Well, they went beyond just contracting with Indigenous businesses.
Okay.
They actually invested in building genuine partnerships.
That's great.
Yeah.
What kind of impact did all these changes have on ACECA?
Well, the benefits were pretty widespread.
Okay.
First and foremost, they got access to those high-quality products and services.
Right.
But beyond that, they saw a positive impact on their staff, morale, and engagement.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, the staff felt really proud to be part of an organization
Okay.
that was so committed to reconciliation and social responsibility.
Right.
It also led to this greater appreciation for Indigenous cultures and perspectives within the workplace.
That's awesome.
And on like a practical level, ACECA was able to demonstrate their commitment through their procurement practices,
Right.
which actually strengthened their relationships with key stakeholders.
So a win-win on multiple levels.
Totally.
They achieved their goals. They
Yeah.
strengthened their organization.
Yeah.
And they made a positive impact on those Indigenous businesses they worked with.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a great example of how supplier diversity can be this really powerful force for good.
Absolutely.
And it shows that it's not just about big corporations or government contracts.
Right.
Even smaller organizations like ACECA can make a difference.
It's really inspiring. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Everything from the why behind supplier diversity
Yeah.
to the practical steps you can take to build that really compelling business case.
Definitely.
And we even saw how it translates into real-world action with ASICA.
We did.
What are some of the key takeaways you want our listeners to leave with today?
Well, I think the most important thing is that supplier diversity is not just a trend
Right.
or a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's this fundamental shift
Right.
in how we do business.
It's about recognizing the value that diverse businesses bring to the table,
Absolutely.
building those more equitable and inclusive economies,
Yeah.
and creating a ripple effect of positive social change.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's about thinking beyond the bottom line
Right.
and considering the impact that our purchasing decisions actually have.
Fully.
And as we learned today, it's not an either situation.
It's not.
Organizations can have a competitive edge, fulfill their corporate social responsibility,
Yep.
and meet those compliance goals
All at the same time.
all at the same time.
A win-win-win.
So for our listeners out there, here's a final thought.
Okay.
Now that you know the why and the how of supplier diversity, what's one small step that you can take to support Indigenous businesses
Yeah.
in your everyday life?
Good question.
Maybe it's choosing to go to Indigenous-owned cafes or restaurants,
Yeah.
picking Indigenous suppliers for your next project, or even just educating yourself about all the amazing products and services that they offer.
Right. Every journey starts with a single step.
That's true.
And those small actions multiplied across so many individuals and organizations can have a huge impact.
That's a great point. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
into supplier diversity. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. And until next time, keep diving, keep learning, and keep making a difference.